Hello, welcome to the 2020 Tennessee Small Farm Expo. My name is Solomon Haile. I'm Extension Associate Professor at Tennessee State University. Today, I'll be talking to you about silvopasture, an agroforestry system practice. Currently, agriculture has a challenge in the Southwest. Among others, we see there is a change in agricultural land use. This change includes the urbanization pressure on the rural lands, the agricultural intensification that includes the use of fertilizer application that affects the current environment, the water system, the soil. The forestry sector is getting intensified, and this has its own consequence. The water quality and availability deterioration from time to time from agricultural application is common. Climate change and carbon sequestration are also the current challenge in agriculture to maintain the carbon sequestration and the climate change effects. The issue of agricultural sustainability and alternative production system is becoming an issue and a concern. So within this scenario, the small farm holding community is in a challenge to get a balance between the sustainability and the production need to satisfy from its farm. So in this scenario, agroforestry comes as one of the solutions to give a balance between those different forces of application. So agroforestry brings together the extremes of agriculture and forestry to bring an integrated system that is, by definition, an intentional mix of the trees and the shrubs into crop and animal production system to create an environment or economic or social benefits that helps the farmer. So what we see here in the left side is a traditional ranching that has been used for years. But in the side of the right side, we see an intentional preparation of the land so that it will be used in more planned and intentional way. So that's what we are talking about agroforestry. The merits of this concept lies on the intention to combine these two productions: agriculture, which is the crop and animal rearing, and the forestry sector. So with that, what are the types of agroforestry practices that we see in the Southeast? These are the common practices that we see in the southeastern United States. Silvopasture, where trees and pasture with animals are combined. We have alley cropping. Alley cropping is where crops in between trees are planted. In such case, there is no animal combination and it's very intensive. Or the riverine buffer zone that is mainly used to protect the water quality. The forest farming, such as mushroom production and other medicinal plants under the forest, is also another type of agroforestry that we see commonly in the southern east. Windbreak. Windbreak is a very common. It has been used to protect croplands by putting 1 or 2 rows of trees along the lines of the border or on the side of the wind, so that the wind speed is reduced to the extent that there are research shows that there is an increase in crop production because of the windbreak. Other special applications of agroforestry includes wildlife management, agricultural tourism. Those are the very common agroforestry practice that we see in the southeastern United States. So silvopasture being one of the agroforestry system, it is an intentional combination of trees, forage, plants, and livestock in an integrated and intensively managed system. So the arrangement of these components could be in different ways, as it's demonstrated in those pictures. We can have a group of trees where there is spaces for forage. Animals will be also part of the system, in which those trees are going to be commonly used for shading, provide shade to the animals, and produce some timber production. We also have in orderly manner with lined spacing of rows of trees, and between rows of this space is used for pasture. We also have scattered trees that are individually within the land, and pasture is dominantly having in the space, or it could be in a one row with a space for pasture. So those are the different configurations that we can choose from. As far as the establishment of the silvopasture is concerned, you can start it from where you have trees and remove some trees and plant some forage, or you can start in a forage by planting trees from the beginning. So in your case, as a small farmer, the question that you may have to ask is small farm can be used for silvopasture agroforestry system? So the typical one that we see in small farming is the small ruminant-based silvopasture agroforestry system. Would it be appropriate for your case? I will try to give you a little bit more insights into this option. In the first place, why do we need silvopasture? Or what are the benefits that we can get from silvopasture if we practice it? It optimizes rather than maximizes the production, all the three components, which means you will have diversification of the components. You have optimized production. You can get optimum production from each, but you will have from different products, and that is aversion of risk. Implemented on the small acreage as well as on land holding with hundreds of acres. So size doesn't matter. So it includes those who have a small land, and it can be applied also to larger area. It minimizes nutrient loss from heavily fertilized soil. This takes us to the challenge of the current agriculture in the Southeast, that the intensification of agriculture creates the extra or the excess of application of nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen are creating problem down the stream on the water quality. Carbon sequestration is a plus, one of the ecosystem services that we can get from agroforestry systems. Silvopasture would be one main type. So small ruminant-based silvopasture, in this case we're referring to goats. Goats can be managed on limited land. That is the advantage in this compatibility. The small-scale farmers can generally achieve self-sufficiency with small herd. So in a small land, the efficiency is also applied. We'll come back later, we have to balance the stock rate. We shouldn't overstock as well. The need to invest in fencing and herds held in order to protect their goats from the predator or the monitor parasites and diseases is very important to consider. Small ruminant-based system benefits because it incorporates trees into the livestock and forage system. It reduces the moisture of the loss from the soil. It provides shade and protects the livestock because of the presence of the trees. Not far from Ashland City, about 15 miles from here, from Nashville, we have a plot of agroforestry system. And we have also a research from our animal section. We have a research of cattle research. And a lot of the cattle, we see them, they benefit from the shade that is created by the trees nearby in the agroforestry system. Improves the soil conditions. We can enlist a lot of benefits in here, but the main one is to increase the organic matter of the soil and all the benefits that are associated with organic matter and soil carbon are also part of this. Trees and forage crops consideration. So what should be the consideration, what we have to do when we are selecting the component part of the trees and the shrubs and also the forage? So the potential market of the species or the particular product is very important to consider. We always go for profit. As a farmer, it has to be profitable. Soil type, is it compatible with the soil type that we are having in our farm? The climatic conditions, the species matching to the site. So the species matching to the intercropping is also another aspect of it that we have to see. The fact that they are grown in the same land, competition is one of the pitfall that we have to balance in planting the crops and the trees together. We'll talk more later how we can do that. So the trees has to be also marketable, high quality. In the case of if we are looking for timber production, fast growing to get the product on timely basis, deep root system to avoid competition. I just mentioned before, the drought tolerant species are more also desirable because the efficiency in the resource like water is very important to reduce the possible competition between the forage and the trees. Capable of providing desired products and environmental services are also good to consider as characteristics of the tree. So it has to be very good environmental services that it has to give shade to the animals, as well as it has to be also very how do you say it, the sunlight has to go through the canopy so that the undergrowth will get enough sunlight. On the other side, we have to see the desirable characteristics of the forage or the crop that is growing together. Suitability for livestock grazing is one important aspect, which is the main purpose of the crop. Compatibility with the site, the soil temperature, precipitation, the overall site requirements, production under partial shade and moisture stress. This is very important. A lot of the forage, especially under the Graminae family, they are C4 plants. What is C4 plant means? C4 plants means they require a lot of sunlight. They have the capability to take in with open stomata a lot of carbon dioxide. For that, they utilize a lot of sunlight. They have the potential to use the sunlight. So whenever they are under shade, they tend to do less in production. So it's very important to consider in the design of the agroforestry system when you are planting such kind of crops. Responsive to intensive management. When you have intensive management, it is very important to pay your management expenses, or it has to be productive to the intensity that you are applying. There has to be make a difference. Tolerance of heavy utilization. The fact that you are going to use from the same small land, it's preferable when the regeneration capacity of that particular crop is high to satisfy the need of harvesting. With regard to the animal side, consideration has to be also done. The goats that we are going to choose for this purpose, they have to be adaptable. Make sure they are adapted to the same conditions as the farm that you have. The growth rate, the meat goat should be have high host winning growth rate if our goal is meat. Reproduction purpose, we have to be selective to keep those who are reproducing more. Feed efficiency, choose those goats that need least feed and who can gain more weight with that. Stocking rate is very important. I mentioned a while ago that we have to balance the stock. We should not overstock our system. Maintain good rotation practice is one way to release the burden of the stocking. Rotation will also improve the weight gain and reduces the parasite load. There are other proper managements that are key to success. Grazing should be intensively managed. Also, we have to understand forage growth characteristics. We have to manage timely and during the grazing. Duration of the grazing has to be also in check. Avoid browsing of young tree seedlings. Tree seedlings are the more sensitive ones. They need protection. So especially those elongated shoots, they are very vulnerable for goats. If they are cut, it damages the growth of the tree. So it's recommended that we protect the seedlings at the early stage. And later it has some tolerance to any browsing. Exclude livestock from seedlings during vulnerable period. That's one way we can do, minimize the damage by trampling or wrapping. reduce overgrazing and soil compaction. There are other lot of list of management tools that we can adopt. Tree harvesting, thinning and pruning. These are intermediate tending of the tree. Thinning helps to reduce competition among the trees. Pruning helps to increase the diameter of the trees by removing the branch. It will the growth will go to the diameter. Fertilization to improve both forage and tree is also important. Planting legume for nitrogen fixing and forage production. In our crop side of the components, we can use nitrogen fixing crop. That way we can have a win-win situation where the production of those will give enough protein to the animals as well as enough nitrogen fixation to the soil part. Multi-pasture, rotation grazing, rotational burning, supplemental feeding, those are important practices that help us to minimize stocking rate. Developing water sources, locating salt mineral leaks and waterways to encourage uniform livestock distribution. Fencing can get emphasis more than that for animals. Livestock exclusion to reduce damage of the young seedlings. I can give more emphasis on this. Early stage of the seedlings are very vulnerable to damage. There are some tips that we can see for niche market, especially goat is not it's unusual product in the meat, but it has a niche market which we have to look into ethnic and religious group preference. That goat is typically used for holidays and celebrations. Here are some of the most common holidays that increases the demand for goat. Easter, that falls in March and April. A lot of kids young than 1 year are needed in high demand. We have other ethnic holidays that fall in October. This particular Dishara, it's in October, September. We have Ramadan, the Muslim feast. After that, Eid al-Adha comes in February, in March. So this also gives us what type of the animal are needed in this demand. So that concludes our presentation today. If you have any question on what you have heard today, I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Please write them down on the space provided, which is identified by the Slido down below this screen. Thank you for attending to this presentation. My name is Solomon Haile. If you have any question, you can also email me. My email is listed on the top of this slide. Thank you.